Welcome in to the best in true crime programming. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. You know, coming up this weekend, I'm going to be taking off for some beautiful country up there in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. And believe it or not, today's program is kind of uncanny timing. We're going to be talking about Mackinac Island and Mackinac, Michigan, and some just not only beautiful country, but beautiful country that's got a bit of a mystery having to do with a murder on Mackinac Island. Our guest today is one of our favorite guests of all time. Rod Sadler is an author of a brand new book out there, and it's a wonderful book. I encourage you to go out and get it. It's being released here shortly. It's called Grim Paradise, The Cold Case Search for the Mackinac Island Killer. Rod Sadler, let me tell you a little bit about him. He worked as a police officer in mid-Michigan for 30 years, retiring in 2012. He began researching his first book after discovering the story of a brutal 1897 murder in Williamston, Michigan, a town where he had spent his childhood. His great-grandfather served as a sheriff at the time of that murder, and he was an integral part of that investigation. After returning to college late in his law enforcement career, he discovered his love of writing and decided to write about what he knows best, which is, of course, true crime. In Rod's books, you'll find an enormous amount of research into the murders that he writes about, including this one on Mackinac Island. His attention to detail allows him to craft intriguing, detailed accounts of a series of Michigan murders, including this one on Mackinac Island. Some of the books that Rod's got out there include To Hell I Must Go and A Slayer Waits. And again, I encourage you to pick those books up as well. Killing Women, again, he was on this program talking about killing women, and that was the last time he was on this program. We, again, love to have on this program, ladies and gentlemen, Rod Sadler. Rod, how are you today?
I could not be better. Tomorrow is a launch day for Grim Paradise, the cold case search for the Mackinac Island killer. And I have worked so hard to get the word out there. And it's through people like you, Tim, that allow me to do that. You know, you spread the word across the country, literally. And I couldn't thank you enough. I thank you for that.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure. You know, I sat down with this book and man, talk about such an intricate case, and you do such a wonderful job of there's so many, for lack of a better term, tentacles in this thing that in so many twists and turns and suspects. And you want to talk about mass confusion. You take mass confusion and you put it so eloquently, and it's so easy for us to follow. And that's a testament to your gift, Rod.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a difficult task. I had to get the original police reports. And of course, I here in Michigan, we have a Freedom of Information Act, and that is you request public records. And so I had to get the police report. So I sent it to the Michigan State Police, and it was a substantial bill. It wasn't your typical $200 or $300. It was a 2,000-page police report from 1960, and it was a substantial cost, but I feel it was worth every penny. I think that I've made a case in the book for a new person of interest, and I've discovered another person within the book, within the police files, that I truly believe is another legitimate person of interest that they could continue to research. It really is a fascinating investigation.
The person in question, the victim in this case, Frances Lacey, really, when you first take a look at it at first blush, she's really someone who you would think is kind of unremarkable, a very wonderful woman. I believe she was in her 50s at the time. Is that right?
49.
49. Okay.
And you know, that's a great way to describe her, Tim, is an unremarkable person. She was very nice, very loved, loved by her family. But she, after losing her husband in 1957, she kind of stayed to herself. And she just, she was just a really nice person by all accounts. And this was her first vacation since her husband's death 3 years earlier. She went up to Mackinac Island for a weekend, literally for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with her daughter and son-in-law, and that's how this all happened.
Now, what had her husband done in life?
He was a broker, a real estate broker, as I understand it, and did some other business work. And when he passed away in 1957, she took over his job as a broker, some stocks and bonds, things like that. So it was really nothing really that stood out, just average people.
And now this takes place in 1960, right?
Yes. Actually, I'll date myself here. It was 4 months before my birth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, 1960, 63 years ago.
And it's in a time where I think it's safe to say it now. She's taking over his business affairs. It's not really in a time where women are running major businesses, right? Right.
And she had in her history, she had a couple divorces in the 30s. And so for a divorced woman to be remarried and to run businesses like that, a little unusual for that time period, I would say.
But yet she wasn't aggressive to the point where she's making enemies or anything like that. Most people who talk about Frances Lacey are talking about her as, well, no, she's very congenial. If anything, people they didn't take to her. It wasn't like she was outgoing and or anything. It's just if they met her, she was a very nice woman. Correct?
Right. Exactly. She stayed to herself. Some people would say that she was hard to get to know, but once you got to know her, she was very friendly and again, very loving person. But again, unremarkable. She did what she had to do and lived her life.
One of the things I found very interesting in the book that you mention is before she took the vacation, was she taking in a boarder? She was going to take in a college student or a potential college student. Is that what it was?
She was, yes. She had agreed to take in a boarder of a friend or a boarder. He was the brother of a friend, I believe, or there was a connection there somehow. And he was going to pay her $8 a week, and she was going to do his laundry. And if he kept the driveway clean in the winter, she was going to allow him to park in the garage, one half of the garage. And he loved her. He just thought the world of her. She did not have any enemies at all that I picked up on in any of the police reports. None.
That's not the move of someone who runs businesses. That's the move of someone who's a motherly type person or someone who's a caring motherly type person who's like, you know what, if you're making a move to better yourself or you're making a move to go to school or make something of yourself, I want to help you out.
You're exactly right. And I truly believe that. I think that she was that type of a person. She was a very, very caring person.
One of the other things that's very unusual about this story, Rod, that really, I think, kind of grabs me by the throat here is before this trip. Now, Frances is taking this trip with her. Is it her daughter and son-in-law, or is it her daughter and son?
Daughter and son-in-law.
Okay.
Her daughter was married, and they lived in the Detroit area also. She did have a son also, but this particular trip was just with her daughter and son-in-law. And her son-in-law's sister, son-in-law's sister, okay. Mary. And the four of them headed up to Mackinac Island late on a Friday night. So they got there very early on Saturday morning. And her mother-in-law, her daughter's husband's mother, already had a cabin rented on British Landing, which is around the west side of the island, about 3/4 of the way around, maybe 3 or 4 miles from the downtown area. and they were all going to stay there. And they insisted that Frances stay there also, and Frances refused. She did not want to be a burden, and so she chose to stay at a hotel instead.
Which is kind of an odd insistence, don't you think?
Yeah. Unless, without knowing the sleeping arrangements or things like that, sometimes you end up, I know I've gone on trips before, with a big group of people, and I end up sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's certain details that we don't know and that we will never know.
Yeah.
And one of those is why she chose to stay in a hotel. All I could find out from the interviews with her daughter was that she didn't want to put anybody out. Okay. So she chose a hotel.
I can see that. The thing that grabbed me kind of by the throat, and I guess to me, is which could go one of two ways. Either she had a supernatural sense about the trip, or two, she knew that maybe she did have some enemies out there, Rod. Was the fact that before the trip, she was telling people almost a kind of, if something were to happen to me, I want to make sure that my house is clean. Or if something were to happen to me, I want to make sure this or that or the other. Can you detail for our audience what it was she was doing before this trip that was kind of odd?
Sure. Yeah, she was. And I thought this was fascinating. I'm a firm believer. I'll preface this by saying I'm a firm believer. I don't believe there's anything like coincidence. Mm-hmm. I think things happen for a reason. And in this particular case, she was, the day before they left, her daughter came over to the house, and she was talking as if she was writing her will, in that she was telling her daughter, hey, if I die, I want you to have my dishes, and I want you to have this and that and the other thing. And her daughter, Kay, didn't really think too much of it. And then she mentioned that she was, she'd been ironing all day, and she wanted her house to be clean in case anybody came into it while she was gone. And again, her daughter for a split second thought, well, that's a little bit odd. But then, it just kind of slipped her mind, and they got ready for the trip. In hindsight, I think that's more than coincidence.
Yeah.
It's almost as in the police reports that I read, I did not pick up on any fear that she might think somebody was coming after her in that sense. I think it was more of an intuition, a subconscious intuition, like, I'll give you a quick example. I've read a little bit of research on the JFK assassination, mm-hmm. and I think it was the morning that November 22nd, 1963, he said to Jackie in the hotel, if somebody wants to shoot me from a window, there's nothing I can do about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And boom, what happens that afternoon? So I honestly think it was a little intuition there that she didn't even realize.
Which is scary to a point, but at the same time, how someone could be so at peace with knowing that something's coming like that is astounding, isn't it?
Well, I think I would agree. Yeah, if you know that it's coming, but did she really know, or did she just subconsciously say that without even thinking? I don't know, and it's one of those answers that we'll never have. There was another instance that I learned about, and I really will. I'll keep this kind of close to myself here, but
sure.
The fact that Mrs. Lacey did not have the ability to scream, and I found that out from other sources not related to the police investigation, and by that, I was told that at one point when she was a younger woman, her hair had gotten caught in the rollers of a washing machine. Remember the old washing machine rollers from the 40s and 50s?
Yeah.
And she couldn't reach the switch to turn it off, and she'd lost a big piece of her hair. And she realized at that point that she did not have the ability to scream.
Oh.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think that would have played a part in this particular homicide. I think that regardless if she had the ability to scream, the way that this all occurred, she wouldn't have had a chance to. Because the police theory wasn't, and they based this on the autopsy report, is that she was struck from behind and knocked out.
So Frances Lacey goes with her daughter, her son-in-law, and again, correct me here, is it the mother of...
Her son-in-law's mother.
Her son-in-law's mother. Okay, so they...
She's already on the island, and she has rented a cabin for everyone to stay at British Landing.
And of course, on Mackinac Island, if people aren't familiar, there are no horseless carriages. There are no cars. So correct. You have to disembark, leave all vehicles behind, and you have to take a ferry over to the island. Is that correct?
That's correct. In 1898, the village council on Mackinac Island voted to ban the horseless carriage. And other than a few attempts over the years of some pranksters, I think there was one in the 30s that brought an amphibious car over. Cars are forbidden. They're banned. The only modes of transportation are by horse and carriage, horseback, bicycle, or on foot. Now, the island does have public services, police department, fire department, ambulance, public works. So there are some vehicles on the island. It's just they're very, very seldom seen. And they are really restricted to the public service aspect of it.
And the island is a small enough area where you could get around on foot. It wouldn't be too much of a disservice to do so, or get around a bicycle. It wouldn't be too much of a disservice to do so. So it's not like, you're being put out by doing either.
Oh, heavens no. The island is 8 or 9 miles around is all the circumference of it. So it's a very small island. I know I walked from the downtown area to the murder site and back twice, and it's about 3.5 miles to the murder site from downtown. But, I could have continued walking another 3.5 or 4 miles and probably been right back at the other end of town.
Okay. So they get to, and to kind of set the scene here, Rod, tell us how it went from the time they got onto the ferry to, and lead us up to break here, to how they got to just about the time of the murder. So they get on the ferry, and are things okay with Frances so far? Is she feeling trepidatious? Set the scene for us here.
No, they arrived at like 6:30 in the morning up in Mackinac City, which is at the northern tip of the Lower Peninsula in Michigan, and it's right next to the Mackinac Bridge. And the Mackinac Bridge had been opened in 57 or 59. It was very, very new still. And it was too early to run the ferries. And so they went and had breakfast. And then at 8 o'clock, when the ferry service started running to the island, they took the ferry over. They left their car. It's a passenger ferry, not a vehicle ferry. And so they took the passenger ferry over to the island. And everybody's relaxed. They're walking up the dock, and right at the end of the dock is the Chippewa Hotel. And Mrs. Lacey tells her daughter, "Hey, I'm gonna see if they have any rooms available," because she'd already told her, "Hey, I'm gonna stay in a hotel." And so Mrs. Lacey goes in and the clerk at the Chippewa Hotel says, I'm sorry, we won't know until 11 o'clock whether or not we have any rooms, because it was a huge weekend. It's the annual Chicago to Mackinac yacht race, and they're ferrying a lot of people to the island, a lot of visitors and tourists and sports people. And so they said, we won't know until 11 o'clock. And so she throws a brochure for that hotel into her purse. I do want to correct myself. I don't remember if it was the Iroquois or the Chippewa Hotel.
Okay.
She walks across the street to the Murray Hotel, and lo and behold, they have a room available, and she pays the $5 and some cents, and she gets a room for the night, for one night, and she's going to stay there Saturday night. And they go out, her daughter and son-in-law and Mary, and they go meet with his mom and his stepbrother, who's also there. And they go ride horses around the island, and they do what tourists do. They spend the day seeing the sights and doing things that tourists do. They bought some candy, some fudge, things like that, some postcards. And that night they had dinner, and Kay and her husband took a horse and carriage back to British Landing, and Kay went back to her hotel room. During that night, this is on Saturday night now.
Okay.
She came down to the front desk, and she left the hotel, but she left her key with the front desk. And she came back in to the hotel 3 separate times and asked for her key back. And on the last time, she said, "You won't have to worry about this anymore. I'm going up to my room for the night." And so she did. And she had told Kay, "Hey, I'm going to leave the hotel in the morning. I should be out to British Landing by 10:30 or 11. And the next morning, Sunday morning, by 11 o'clock, she hadn't shown up at British Landing. And that's when the family became quite concerned.
Okay. So with that, why don't we take our break? When we come back, we'll pick it up from there. And we'll talk about what exactly happened with Frances Lacey and where the concerns started to come in. Because the distance here, Rod, between the Murray Hotel and the British Landing is about 3.25 miles?
About 3.5 miles.
3.5 miles? Okay. So to walk 3.5 miles, you'd say is about how long?
90 minutes or so.
There you go. Okay. So it shouldn't have took as long as it took for them to, or for Mrs. Lacey to get as far as it took for her to be missing. And she went missing for quite a while before they decided that, hey, she's missing. We need to figure out what's going on with Mrs. Lacey.
Exactly. Yeah.
So things are afoot and Mrs. Lacey is missing. And then we start asking questions. Where is Mrs. Lacey? And we start figuring out who's all involved in this and why did she go missing? And the question comes up, did Mrs. Lacey go missing because somebody is a suspect in this? Is there foul play? Or is Mrs. Lacey depressed and she wanted to end it on her own? This comes up as a question as well. So,
exactly.
Is Mrs. Lacey depressed and wanted to end it all? Or is there foul play? We'll answer that question when we come back. The name of the book, Grim Paradise, The Cold Case Search for the Mackinac Island Killer. As we tape this, it's available tomorrow, but as it airs, it's available right now. If you go and click on the link in the description of this program, I encourage you to do it right now. Get a copy of the book and read it, folks. It is a fascinating book, and I guarantee you are going to come away from reading this book just jazzed. You really are. It's a wonderful book, and you are going to, if you love whodunits, you are going to be scratching your head as you read this book. Your head's going to be spinning. My head was spinning at the end of this book, Rod. I got to tell you, I couldn't tell you who was behind this, to be honest with you. But again, the name of the book, get it in the break here. Grim Paradise, The Cold Case Search for the Mackinac Island Killer. Rod Sadler is our guest. We'll talk more about Frances Lacey and whodunit when we come back here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is author Rod Sadler. The book is Grim Paradise, the cold case search for the Mackinac Island killer. When we left you last, we were talking about Frances Lacey, who, when we last were talking, she had to get up to British Landing from the Murray Hotel. Now, the morning that she was to go up to go see the rest of her family and start the activities for the day, she was supposed to be there at around 11, right?
Yeah, she thought 10:30 or 11-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it takes about 90 minutes to get up there. So like anybody, they would get up, get ready, and maybe even have a little bit of breakfast, right?
Correct. As a matter of fact, police do believe that she had breakfast at the Murray Hotel based on some autopsy results. And she had, well, when she didn't show up at British Landing, the police first checked the parking lot in Mackinac City to see if the car was still there, and it was. And the Michigan State Police trooper that took the original complaint got in touch with the Mackinac Island Police, which is a small city right there. It's the tourist city right there on Mackinac Island, and had them check her hotel room. And they discovered a 6-pack of Carling Black Label beer under the bed. And that was only mentioned once in the police report. And it never, there's never any mention about what was done with it or anything. But they checked at the front desk, and the front desk said, well, her suitcase is over there, but I didn't see her check out. She left a key here on the front desk. It wasn't uncommon for a tourist to say, hey, I'm leaving the island today. I'll leave my bag here and pick it up in a little bit when my ferry comes. So that's the theory behind that. There really was nothing suspicious about that, other than they were trying to pin down a time when they thought she might have left. And I believe that the time that they decided on was about 9:30. There was some trouble with the grill at the Murray Hotel. I think they had run out of gas, and she had been in there about 8:30. And they said, well, we can't serve you right now because there's a problem with the grill. You can come back in a little bit. She came back about 9 and had pancakes, bacon, coffee, and cantaloupe.
Okay.
And then she set out on foot. She left her bag there, and she set out on foot for British Landing.
All right. So there's a few things that are unusual here, and you mentioned the beer under the bed. Now,
I know.
This is very unusual in that did her daughter or son-in-law or even the mother-in-law mention that was one of the items that they had bought when they were out and about?
No, the only mention in 2,000 pages of police reports is that the Mackinac Island police chief checked her room, and he found a 6-pack of Black Label beer under the bed, but nothing else was amiss. And basically, that's the sentence in 2,000 pages. That's the only time that's mentioned. Now, here's the question. Did she buy that beer? Was it drank? Were the bottles empty or were they full?
Yeah.
Where would it have come from on the island? And why wasn't it preserved as evidence? Well, you have to understand that at 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning, she's walking to Mackinac Island or walking to British Landing. She doesn't get there. So they assume she's just lost or she's depressed, or nobody really considered it as, hey, there's some foul play here. And I think that's why the beer was never mentioned again.
And I asked this question because of this, Rod. There's two schools of thought as they're trying to figure out what's happening to Mrs. Lacey. One is that she's depressed. And they even asked Kay at one point, her daughter, is your mother on medication? And,
yes.
And she does admit what?
She admitted that she finally admitted in a second interview that her mom took what she called her happy pills. And although a lot of the report was redacted, I was able to basically determine that she had a hysterectomy, and she did have some bouts of depression, I guess. Mm-hmm. And that was a concern because they thought, number one, either she's lost, or two, she's depressed and maybe suicidal, or three, maybe she fell into the lake or something. Mm-hmm. There was always that possibility. And then, of course, the fourth possibility, which really didn't come to light until late that evening, on the day that she came up missing, was maybe there's foul play involved here.
Right. So if there's beer under the bed, you would think either way, whether it's foul play or maybe she was drinking it herself, got a little tipsy and wandered off, you would think that beer plays more of a role than what they actually made it out to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Hindsight's always 20/20. We can look back 60 years ago and say, wow, they should have done this or they should have done that. I think they did a fine job based on what they had to work with. What happened between the time that the questions that I have, what happened between the time she was reported missing and the time that the next day when they organized this massive search party, what happened to the room? Was it preserved, as a crime scene? Did the maids come in and take the 6-pack out and throw it out? There's just so many unanswered questions that it's one of those small pieces of the puzzle that we can't explain.
Very true. Very true. So Mrs. Lacey at that point then decides to take that fateful walk up to British Landing. At least that's what we're assuming, right?
Yeah.
And in that, what do we know as far as going from the Murray Hotel to the British Landing?
Well, we know that at 9:30 a.m., a couple arrived on the island. And I'm going to say a couple, let's just say a man and a woman who were having an affair. And nobody was supposed to know they were on the island. Okay. They were having a little rendezvous. And they rented a bike at the bike livery right there at the end of the dock. And their ticket was stamped at 9:30. And so they started their little tour around the city, and eventually they made it out to British Landing. I'm sorry, no, they made it past. They made it past Devil's Kitchen, which is a geographic outcropping about halfway to British Landing. It's a lot of legend surrounds it, evil spirits, stuff like that. And so they made it past there, and as they're driving down M85 or 185, it's a state highway where there's no cars allowed. It's the only state highway in Michigan where there's no cars allowed. But they're riding along the bike, tandem bike, and they spot a purse laying alongside the road. And the woman says, "Hey, stop." And so now it's about 10:30-ish, and she says there might be something in that. So he gets off the bike and he walks back, and as he picks it up, he can hear something lumbering through the brush, like an animal or something big moving through the brush on the side of the road. And he doesn't pay any attention to it. He opens up the purse. He sees the identification of Frances Lacey, and he sees a hotel brochure, and they decide, hey, let's take it into the hotel and we'll return it to her. So they end up going back into town, and they go to the Iroquois or the Chippewa. I think it might be the Iroquois. It escapes me right now, but they go to the hotel, and they said, hey, is there Frances Lacey here? And they said, no, nobody here by that name, because nobody knew she was missing at that point. She had just left to walk to British Landing.
Right.
So they said, okay. So they said, hey, let's just take it back to her in Detroit. We're going back there tomorrow because they were from the Detroit area and she was from Dearborn.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just call her and get it back to her. So they keep the purse with them all day, and they leave the island. And 4 days later, as Mrs. Lacey's disappearance has now become statewide and national news that this woman is missing on Mackinac Island, these people in Detroit suddenly realize, oh my gosh, this is the missing woman's purse that we found on Sunday, on the day that she came up missing. So they call the state police, and the state police puts them in touch with the detective from the UP that's working the case, and they go back to where the purse was found, the detectives and the police officers, and they start searching around, and they discover Mrs. Lacey's body. She had been murdered. She was strangled with her own panties. Her body was concealed. There was right next to where the purse was found were two big, probably 8 or 9 foot stone pillars made from field stone. And they were made into gigantic pillars with a steel gate across between them, and there was a sign on it that said no trespassing, because it was private property.
Mm-hmm.
The killer actually took her through that gate and concealed her body under some downed trees. But they were able to begin their search, the police, from where the purse was found 4 days earlier. So she had laid out there for 4 days before she was discovered.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
the theory is, before I forget this,
yep.
the theory is that those people that rented the bike at 9:30 and arrived out there by those stone pillars of where the purse was at 10:30, probably the lumbering around in the weeds and in the trees was
mm-hmm.
probably the killer having just murdered Mrs. Lacey.
So they essentially ran into the killer.
Basically, they just missed him. Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
So they essentially got a look at the killer. But
they didn't.
No, they didn't. Okay. So they didn't get a look at it. Okay.
No. Later on, they interviewed some witnesses that were on a buggy ride near the city who saw 3 people on their buggy ride. They saw the couple on the tandem bike that ended up finding the purse, mm-hmm. and they saw a white male with an open shirt, about 18 to 19 years old, walking down the road. And I will tell you that I believe that was probably the killer.
Now, in the book, and again, like I said, you've done a wonderful job of running down, and there are several. I'm not saying 1 or 2 suspects here, Rod. We're talking several. At one point, the police go from, and it's not just the police. There's like essentially it's like the Coast Guard. Is that a good way of putting it?
Well, the Michigan State Police handled the investigation. They had for the summer, they had 3 troopers assigned to the island for different shifts, mm-hmm. and so they handled the missing person report. The Coast Guard had a station on the island, and for rescues and things like that. And so the state police detachment, if you will, was actually in the Coast Guard station. But the Coast Guard was really an integral part of the investigation too, in assisting in searches and things like that, searching the coast, searching by plane, things like that. with their boat.
Okay. So they cast a very wide net, and I'm putting it pretty conservatively when I say that. Cast a very wide net, and at one point, they're interviewing employees of different hotels.
Absolutely, yeah. They would go around and they would get a list of hotel employees, guests from the different hotels, just employees that left suddenly on the morning that she was murdered, things like that. And as a matter of fact, one of the Mackinac Island officers said, "Hey, you need to look at this guy." And it was a guy named Paul Strantz. And he was just a local. He'd come up to the island every summer and just do odd jobs. There's an old song by Harry Chapin called "Odd Job Man." Well, that's what this guy was. He would just do odd jobs. And he seemed to be everywhere, day and night. He was always out and about. And when the police interviewed him, that they asked to go search his room, and he let them. And they found a shirt with they thought was blood on it. It turned out to be paint. But his suit that he would wear was damp, and they thought that was odd. And they asked him about it, and he said, "Well, I got caught in the rain." So they weren't really sure about him. And when Mrs. Lacey's body was found on a Thursday, the lead detective said, "I want to re-interview him, pick him up on suspicion of murder." And so they did, and it hit the papers that police had made an arrest in the murder of Frances Lacey. Sadly, they had nothing more than suspicion, and he was eventually released.
It wasn't also the carriage driver for the family at one time a suspect?
I didn't get that impression from the police reports, but in an interview that I did with an island resident while I was doing my research, they said that one of the detectives working the case was absolutely certain that he was involved somehow. I didn't get that impression from the police reports that I read.
Okay.
I think that he was initially just as a possibility, along with a lot of other people, like, "Hey, we need to talk to this guy because he took them out to British Landing, and he kind of had a thing for Mary, the brother or the brother's sister." So I think it was more of a, we need to talk to this guy. But one of the detectives apparently was pretty confident that he was involved.
It certainly comes off that way because he was very well, and we should explain to the audience that he had gone above and beyond, put it that way, customer service. In order to,
I think he was smitten with her.
Yeah, and tried to make contact with Mary in a couple of different ways, and tried to ask her out. He had offered the services of his bicycle at one point to her, and tried to ask her out and got a no for that matter, and eventually admitted all that to police. He didn't lie about that, and I think they even put him through a polygraph test, if I remember right.
Yes, and he did admit that they had spent an evening together too. Finally,
yes, yeah.
So they did look at him. They looked at a lot of people. And there was another gentleman by the name of Harold Asp, who was a really strong suspect at one point. As a matter of fact, they flew to Indianapolis, where he ended up being there. They started their investigation in Detroit, where he had ended up. And then it turns out he ended up in Indianapolis. So they flew down there to interview him. And in the long run, although there was a match with some forensic evidence, it wasn't enough to completely say, "Hey, this is the killer." And they also gave him a polygraph exam, and he passed that.
Yeah.
And so Harold Asp turned out not to be a suspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, though, if you do some research about serial killers in today's world, the professionals will tell you that a serial killer can beat a polygraph, and oftentimes you'll find the veteran police officers will say, if he's a good suspect, don't put him on a polygraph. Do not polygraph him.
Very true.
Because if he's a psychopath, he'll pass it.
Yeah.
And then you got nothing.
Yeah. Well, polygraph wasn't the only thing in this book. You also talk about the forensics of hair analysis in this book as well. And the fact that from the very beginning, they used hair analysis, and they also, although they couldn't do anything with DNA, obviously DNA was not a science back then, but they did have some of the semen, because unfortunately Mrs. Lacey was raped as part of this crime. So
that's correct.
They did have what they had for science back then as far as that rape kit went. And you can explain that a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, well, they had, at the autopsy, they had taken vaginal swabs and determined, initially they knew they had some samples there, but that the initial report, they said they can't make any claim as to criminality. In other words, whether or not it was deposited there prior to her being sexually assaulted. In other words, maybe in a consensual way. Mm-hmm. And somehow, and I was not able to determine how, but somehow they determined that, yes, she had in fact been raped. And I don't know if that was maybe from some bruising to that area of her body or something like that. They never really said in the police reports, other than, yes, she was raped.
Yeah.
They took some hairs off of her body that did not belong to her. Those hairs were light brown to blonde in color. I think there were 4 or 5, maybe 6 of them that they were able to recover.
Yep.
And those were used throughout the investigation. Whenever a suspect was identified, they would ask for a hair sample from that person, and they always got them. Can we have a sample of your head hair and your pubic hair and your arm hair? And Harold Asp actually matched. I say matched. He had similar characteristics to the hair that was taken as evidence, and so the lab specialist or scientist could not eliminate him as a suspect.
Yeah. But were there other factors that eliminated him? I'm trying to remember if that was.
There was. And one of those was the polygraph exam.
That's right. The polygraph.
And his willingness to he flew back to Mackinac Island from Indianapolis with the investigators to clear his name. And they were absolutely certain that he was not involved. Now, if there was something more than just the polygraph and his willingness to go back and that he was a nice guy, they didn't say in the police reports. That's the problem. There's some information that's lacking, but they were absolutely certain that he was not involved in this.
Yeah.
In spite of the similarities between his hair and the hairs taken off Mrs. Lacey's body.
And again, Rod, we alluded to it earlier. Had technology been where it is now, and I think you and I talked about it off air, you've got things like touch DNA, and I think even you brought up exhuming Mrs. Lacey's body at this point. If there was enough DNA evidence on the body, what you could do with today's technology, you could.
Absolutely. I believe that number one, if the evidence is ever located, it's a solvable case. I truly believe that. It's a solvable case. And there was another guy that they interviewed. Well, he had broken into some homes around the Ionia area and was arrested. And he made this statement to the state police during his interview about these break-ins in Ionia that he had been on Mackinac Island. Well, the trooper that was taking the information, he was well aware of the Lacey homicide. Mm-hmm. And so he passed word on to the investigators, and they re-interviewed him. And he said, "Oh, no, I didn't mean Mackinac Island. I was on Fox Island. I was doing some work up there. I was on No, I wasn't on Mackinac Island." Well, they said, as part of their investigation, "Would you give us some hair samples?" So he did. And he took a polygraph, and he passed the polygraph. Another comparison of the hair, and the lab scientist said, "I cannot eliminate this man as a suspect. There are too many similar characteristics to the hair taken off the body."
Yeah.
And so there's another suspect that, other than, hey, we gave him a polygraph and he passed, so he's not a suspect anymore. You still have that forensic evidence that's like, hey, but again, it's easy to look back 60 years, and maybe there's a report there that I haven't seen that wasn't included. But I think that's another fascinating part of the investigation, because there's another guy that, between Harold Asp and him, that maybe should be looked at a little closer.
Absolutely. What I found, and I told you off air too, what I found fascinating is there's a couple of very, very famous Minnesota cases that enter into the fray here, that through 6 degrees of separation managed to touch this case of Frances Lacey. And there's a saying, you absolutely pop me when I see these, because these are cases that, for lack of a better term, the one serial killer here, Hugh Morse, you grow up here in Minnesota hearing about Hugh Morse. He's like the boogeyman in Minnesota.
Yeah, Brian Morris.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fascinating connection. He had traveled all over the country, literally from the West Coast to the East Coast on this murderous rampage, and passed through Michigan. And it came to light, hey, maybe we should look at Hugh Brian Morris. And they did. Yeah. While it wasn't very extensive, they basically relied on somebody else to do the interview for him. And he said, "Oh, no, I would have been in Washington at that time." Oh, well, he can't be a suspect then. It just, certain aspects of how they did this investigation kind of floored me. But
And the other laissez-faire thing they throw out there is, oh, well, he already admitted to so many crimes. If he would have been there, he would have already admitted to it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So,
the funny part about that whole Hugh Brian Morris case is how he was caught. He had this alias that he was living under, and this couple that lived across the hallway or down the hallway from him go on their honeymoon to Washington, D.C., and they're touring the FBI headquarters and see the 10 most wanted people in the U.S., and there's Hugh Brian Morris, but they know him by another name. Hey, that's our neighbor.
Yeah.
That's how he got caught.
Yep.
Crazy.
Talk about all the uncanny ways to get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it right there. Yeah. But he was the boogeyman in Minnesota. Yeah. He was.
Yeah.
And every single time he even stirred in jail, there was a news story about it all over. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. He is the boogeyman here, Rod, that's for sure. Again, folks, I want to encourage you to pick up this book. The stories in here and the suspects, just the colorful suspects down the line. We're only scratching the surface. I encourage you to get this book, because the suspects in here are just as colorful as this case. And the people that are lined up to face the music, so to speak, in this case, are colorful enough. And the theory behind this of who you believe killed Lacey, or Mrs. Lacey, Frances Lacey. God, I so want to say it, and I can't, Rod. I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about a person that I think should be looked at very closely.
Sure, go ahead.
And that is a gentleman. I'm not even going to say the word gentleman. A man whose first arrest was literally 1 year after the Mackinac Island murder. He was arrested in Washtenaw County for the rape of a blind woman. And she was not killed, but she was violently raped. And believe it or not, he turned himself in 1961 because he'd stolen her car and left his car there. So he knew they were looking for him. So he turned himself in. He got sentenced to 10 years, I think, in prison.
Okay.
And he was released in like 1969. In 1973, there was a woman who came up missing in Owasso, a young lady by the name of Dawn Magyar. And her case went cold. They had no idea. She was out shopping and just disappeared, literally. Mm-hmm. And in 1982, there was a 16-year-old girl who was kidnapped in Carson City, Michigan, in the mid-Michigan area. And her body was found 2 weeks later up west of Cadillac, which is a resort town in northern Michigan. And she had been strangled. As a matter of fact, the ligature around her neck was tied so tight it had cut through her skin and rested against her spine.
Oh, my God.
There was a witness to her talking to a person in a van, and he thought it was a little strange. Here's one of those weird twists in this case, Tim.
Okay.
And so he writes down the license number, and the license plate number comes back to a guy that's living in Eaton Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
For those that don't know, Eaton Rapids, Michigan is in Eaton County, Michigan, and that's where I did my 25 years in law enforcement.
Okay.
So it was very strange that a friend of mine, who was the prosecuting attorney at the time, signed the search warrant for that man's van because they seized it in Eaton Rapids and searched it. And they were able to come up with some trace evidence tying this guy to the murder of this 16-year-old. And so he was charged with her murder. There was a discrepancy in the search warrant between some witness statements and what the officer put down, and so the case was thrown out. It appeared to the judge that the detective had lied on the search warrant, so the case was completely dissolved. And to this day, it remains unsolved. And though we know that he was the suspect in that.
Okay.
So jump ahead to 2000 or the late 90s. Police reopened the Dawn Magyar case, and he is subsequently charged with that murder. And it's one of the first cases in Michigan where they did a DNA analysis. And with that, he was convicted of Dawn Magyar's cold case murder back in 1973. This was in 2001 when he was convicted, and he went to prison. It's, to me, as I did this investigation, I thought, here's a guy that when he raped the, well, let's jump back to 1959 when he got married to his first wife. And there's a newspaper announcement saying that he's telling the press that he's going to go to the Northern Michigan Institute of Mining and Technology,
okay,
which is Michigan Tech, in Michigan's UP. So he obviously has a familiarity with northern Michigan. In 1961, when he was arrested for the rape of the blind woman, he was at University of Michigan as a student, all ready to divorce his wife, couldn't stand being married, and had told her so. And he has blonde hair. He's a serial killer. His MO matches with the 16-year-old girl's murder, the strangulation, and the fact that he was a University of Michigan student. The University of Michigan students were all over Mackinac Island in 1960, working summer jobs. So I think that there's enough that if police were able to locate the evidence, they should look at him seriously as a person of interest.
Okay.
It's kind of a long, drawn-out connection. No. But they've had 63 years to solve this, and it just takes that one little piece of information.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. You're right. And also, I'll just throw this in there. There's a possible conspiracy, just a little tickler, a little tease. Is that fair to say? Do you remember that part in the book?
Help me out here.
MRA?
Oh, the moral rearmaments movement.
Yeah.
Yes. The moral rearmament movement. I had never heard of that. And they were truth and justice, American values kind of organization. They'd drawn in some celebrities. They were a worldwide organization, and they owned a lot of Mackinac Island, including the property where Mrs. Lacey's body was finally found. And you talk to the island people, the island residents, and some of them will say, I think it was somebody from the MRA. You talk to some former city officials, they said, I think it was an islander. You talk to other people, I think it was an insurance hit. There's so many different ideas about how this went down. They were never able to really establish any suspicion on the MRA other than the fact that her body was found there.
True.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating case. There's a lot of people out there that still wonder about it.
Well, it is all in the book, and folks, I encourage you to go get it. And it's, as this airs right now, as people are listening to it, it is available right now. Grim Paradise, the cold case search for the Mackinac Island killer. We have a link in the description of this program. Rod Sadler, I thank you so much for being with us today.
Tim, thank you. And I will look forward to coming back when my next book comes out.
Oh, we're all over it.
Oh, good.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I appreciate you so much, Rod. Thank you so much for being with us today. Folks, we're going to lighten it up just a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, the time you've all been looking forward to here on True Crime Tuesday. It's time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, we need a co-host. We bring in the co-host with the most, the BCB, the big cuddly bear himself, Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser.
Hello. Hello, world. Hello, everybody.
Hello, sir. Before we get to the hijinks, we have a favor to ask of our audience.
Yes, please.
Yeah. What's that favor, Bruiser?
If we please, could you all send some healing prayers, thoughts, energy, whatever it is you believe in, to Papa Bruiser. He's having some medical issues. Tim and I were talking off air, and they're pretty serious. He's still in good spirits. Love talking to my dad, but he could really use the energy and the prayers and the good thoughts and the healing and all that from everybody. And I know everybody out there, whether you believe in it or not, I do. It helped me through my hip surgery. It's helped him through his surgeries.
Yep.
And Papa Bruiser could actually use some extra thoughts and prayers right now.
Yeah, let's keep it going for Papa Bruiser. He's in a little bit of a rough way right now. So if you can keep it going, help him, and let's get him healthy and strong and keep going so he can play Red Dead.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. And then that's all we do. That's how because he's in Arizona, I'm in North Carolina. So what better way than get online and be the old Wild West and show my dad his true age because he doesn't understand how a microphone works.
That's perfect.
He thinks he's just talking to me, so we'll be doing a raid on something. You're like, all right, I'm coming around these rocks over here. I'm like, Dad, shut up. They can hear us. No, it's just you and me. No, everybody in the world can hear us right now. Well, how did he shoot me? How did I know he knows by these rocks? You told him, Father.
Yeah, that's classic.
Oh.
Well,
he'll be, why are you texting me right now? Because I don't want you to announce it to the world.
Oh, you gotta love it when the old guys get technology.
Yeah. But it keeps his mind off everything, and it breaks up the monotony of the day because he's not allowed to leave the house right now. So.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's funny. Well, like Bruiser said, let's keep it going for Papa Bruiser. Let's get those good thoughts, the prayers, and the good energy going for Papa Bruiser. Let's get him healed up and on the regular with the Red Dead. So,
yes.
So we can learn him about not laying out plans before they actually happen, and you teach him where the mute button is. That's for sure.
Exactly.
That's for sure. By the way, I don't know what's happened. I think I've spoiled my chipmunks too much. They're assholes. No, they're complete assholes. I'm glad that we're adding to the cast of the front yard. I don't know if I told you, but we now have a bunny and we have a mourning dove, which I now call Fancy Pigeon.
So you're basically the talk of the town among the animal kingdom right now.
Oh, I am. Yeah, I am the Shay Ritz, I think, of the neighborhood.
You're trying to tell the chipmunks, hey, chipmunks, first rule of Chipmunk Club. Don't talk about Chipmunk Club. And what they all do.
Oh,
they all went up and talked about Chipmunk Club.
Yeah, they blabbed. The entire neighborhood now knows that right there, the Dennis household is the household on the block. Yeah,
but intern Yoko's loving it, isn't she?
Oh, God, she loves it, yeah.
She like a Disney princess putting her hands out and having all the birds and stuff land.
I think she scares them because she stomps around the yard with art projects, and they think they're being chased with them. Yeah. But so we've got Barnum the bunny.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, Barnum the bunny, P.T. Barnum. So he comes by and he just eats seeds and he has a good time. Now Logan attacked Barnum at one time and attacked the Fancy Pigeon. That's what we call the mourning dove, Fancy Pigeon, because I just thought, well, that just looks like a pigeon. Because I'm more of a city kid than I am a country kid. So I just went, what is that? And intern Yoko said, well, that's a mourning dove. And I said, just looks like a fancy pigeon. So that's where mourning dove gets Fancy Pigeon.
Which is true. That's what they look like.
Yeah, they look like a fancy pigeon. I said, well, if Mike Tyson were here, he'd raise it.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. So I called it Fancy Pigeon. And I also noticed that mourning doves just eat by picking up a seed and flipping it up in the air like an old ball player would, hit fungo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a show for you, huh?
It is. Yeah. I like to watch the Fancy Pigeon just throw a seed up in the air and eat. So, yeah, that's my entertainment. So I'm more enthralled now with Barnum and Fancy Pigeon than I am with the chippers. But I still spoil the chippers and I bring them like little, like fruit and their nuts and stuff. But now they just ignore it.
Well, they're probably mad at you because there's a new show in town, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute, the old show hasn't left yet. There, Pops, what's going on?"
Well, I try to. They still love their blueberries. They like their blueberries, but they're turning their nose up at stuff like I tried apple the other day.
Oh,
and they tried it, but they're like, eh. And I'm like, what?
So they're mad at you because you're not fancy enough right now. You hit a home run with the blueberries, and they're thinking, all right, here we go.
And then they're ignoring.
And then that's it. There's nothing as good as you shot your shot with the blueberries.
Well, I introduced strawberries to them. They love strawberries for a little while, and then, it's strawberries, no big deal. And then the blueberries, they love blueberries. They still love blueberries. And then I tried some apple the other day, some nice green apple. No. And then I tried banana. No.
You gotta get the Honeycrisp apples for them. The Honeycrisp, the sweet Honeycrisp.
I love
That's what you gotta get.
Yeah, I love. I might try a Honeycrisp this week. So yeah, but
have you tried watermelon?
No, I haven't. I think I will. Yeah, I'll try some watermelon this week too.
Yeah, see what that does.
Yeah, because we're winding down summer here. We only got about maybe about a month left. About a month and a half. A month and a half left.
It's about a month. Yeah, we got about a month.
It's a month and a half. The last year, they about middle of October, they went into torpor. So.
That's true. But they came out early this year, didn't they?
No. They kind of dragged their feet a little bit.
So maybe they'll drag their feet going back.
I don't know. They've really been putting away the seeds. So.
Oh, okay. So they're getting ready.
Yeah. So we'll try little things, see if we can get them back a little bit. So,
yeah.
I bet you they go crack crazy on that watermelon, though.
I think so.
Yeah.
Talia got into it the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I got to prevent her from getting it now because that's not fun cleaning up after she gets into the watermelon when we go outside.
No, that's for sure.
It's not a pretty sight.
Yeah. No, I bet.
When a 16-pound dog's taking a 20-pound shit, it's worrisome.
That's a big shovelful. We're really off the topic of dumb crime, stupid criminals today, aren't we?
We are.
I didn't mean to, and I figured, I'd tell people that, chipmunks are assholes. That's all.
Which could fit into it because dumb crime, stupid criminals, they're assholes.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's a long way around, but that's a good,
We got there.
We got stories today, folks, and we're going to try and race through them here in the program. I'm just going to tell you this. Our NSFW isn't so NSFW, but it's still something that you're going to want to turn down if you're at work.
So it's not NSFW, it's just not appropriate.
Yes, it's not appropriate for work. We are going to tell you, though, you're never too old to get busted by the cops for whizzing in your own yard.
Oh, okay.
That's how we're going to end it.
I didn't know that was a law. I whizzed in my own yard numerous times.
Yeah, public urination.
But it's in my property.
Haven't you ever seen the Seinfeld episode?
Oh, yeah, but they were in a parking garage. If I'm on my own property where I pay property taxes, I should be able to piss wherever I want.
Oh, no.
If I want to shit out by the shed, I should be able to shit out by the shed.
Oh, God, no. That is a public health hazard.
Really?
Yes, because you can, if somebody has a private well, you could contaminate a private well.
Well, it's my private well. Mrs. Bruiser doesn't mind.
They'll find all kinds of reasons, It could rain, runoff. It could go into somebody's well. It could. It's a bunch of bullshit, literally.
It is.
Yeah. Let's start off by going to Monterey, shall we? We're going to Monterey, California. By the way, this past weekend, boy, was it something else in California. Again, we've been keeping them in our thoughts and prayers this past weekend.
I'm glad we've been getting updates on the chat page.
Yeah.
I believe his name is Steve from San Diego is giving us updates that at least he's safe,
Yeah.
And the weather conditions and stuff. And I've talked to a few underwater needle pointers that are out there.
Yeah.
One of them, actually, she was right in the middle of that 5.1 earthquake.
Really? Out in Ojai?
She was right there. She posted a picture of the blue dot, where the earthquake was, literally right smack dab in the middle of her apartment building.
Wow. Yikes.
But she's okay. She a little shaken up.
Yeah.
But she's okay.
Good. Well, we go to Monterey, where a man accidentally texts a Monterey police officer about wanting to commit a crime and then got arrested. We'll start it off with a bang.
This generation, their new way of turning themselves in.
I know, right? There's a whole new dumb generation doing dumb crimes, and of course, they're stupid criminals. That's the whole theme of the deal, isn't it? A Pacific Grove man was arrested after he texted a police officer on accident and telling him that he wanted to possibly commit a crime.
I'm curious how he got the police officer's phone number.
I don't know, right?
Like if I'm friends with a cop, he's in a separate folder.
Yes, yeah.
It's a do not text folder.
Yeah, and it's going to have cop all over it, right? Especially if you're a criminal. Last Thursday, a Monterey police officer received a text on his work cell phone, of all things, from an unknown number. The text said he was in Monterey with a gun and wanted to confront a group of people for an unknown reason. Stupid. The man, later identified as 38-year-old Wesley Langkamp of Pacific Grove, told police to meet him at North Fremont Street in Monterey.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
All right. Police arrived and arrested Langkamp. A search of his vehicle, of course, found a loaded Glock and some bonus items, including narcotics and narcotic paraphernalia. He was arrested and booked at the Monterey County Jail.
Do you think when they showed up, he went, hey, whoa, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah, hey.
I just contacted Bill. Like, what are you guys doing here?
I didn't get a hold of you guys. You're not supposed to be here. I got away with it scot-free, didn't I? We're gonna go for a bit of a ride in the next two stories here, Bruiser.
Oh, I like rides.
Yeah, we're gonna jump aboard and take a little bit of a ride. We're going to Rockford, Illinois, where a drunken go-kart joyride left a Rockford man with 14 charges.
Oh, that's a lot of charges.
Yes, it is. Before we go any further with the story, I just have to show you the picture of the man who took the drunken joyride.
You know what? That guy's been to a show that I've done in Rockford.
Really?
He owns one of my shirts. The reason I say that is I have a friend who just moved to California, who looks almost identical to him.
Really?
So when he came up to talk to me and Mrs. Bruiser at the show, we thought it was our friend. Because from the back and the side, he looks like that. So I kept calling my friend. His name's Harry. The guy turns around. He's like, "What are you talking? Oh, sorry, my bad." And you're the Beer City Bruiser. Yada yada yada. Buys a shirt and all that. Hopefully, he was wearing my shirt when he got pulled over.
Well, that would have indicted him. That's for sure. A Rockford man faces 14 charges after police say he went on a drunken go-kart joyride. 29-year-old Ricardo Jimenez was arrested on Saturday following a brief police chase, all from his Polaris Hammerhead go-kart. The official go-kart of Beer City Bruiser.
That's right. I had beer with him, too, and we did shots of tequila.
Really?
Yeah, I remember this guy.
You and Ricardo, huh?
I'm going to have to say something to James Storm. He was there when this happened.
Really? Well, get a hold of James.
I'm going to. This is crazy.
Tell him your boy Ricardo's been charged. Police initially observed Jimenez doing donut circles on the Conklin Elementary School baseball diamond in nearby grass. Why
wouldn't you?
Well, because it's a perfectly good ball diamond, I think. That's why.
Well, and he could have waited for the game to be over.
Yeah, there's that. Causing large chunks to be ripped from the ground, according to court documents. Jimenez then began driving away from the school, heading southbound on Coleman Avenue before police attempted to pull him over. By the way, the maximum speed of a Polaris Hammerhead 150cc, 25 miles an hour.
Slowest chase. It's like the OJ chase all over again.
Yeah. The 29-year-old allegedly ignored police, fled through a stop sign at Penn Road, and drove behind a home in the 2900 block of Coleman Avenue, disappearing into a nearby wooded area. Police later saw Jimenez run into the home and arrested him after he attempted to leave through the front door. God. A field sobriety test. Oh, here it comes.
This is going to be good.
Mm-hmm. A field sobriety test issued to Jimenez resulted in multiple DUI charges. Jimenez is also charged with fleeing and reckless driving, among others. He was booked into Winnipeg. Yeah, I'm so drunk.
They moved him to Canada.
Yeah, they moved him to Canada. He was booked into the Winnebago County Jail and held without bond. They didn't give his stats. They didn't tell us how drunk he was.
Yeah, I wanted to see. That's one of the best things about the OP live shows is Mrs. Bruiser and I play the game, How Drunk Are They? Mm-hmm. So whenever they do the breathalyzer and stuff, yeah, and there's one guy that blew a .27. I was like, how are you alive?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Three times the legal limit, huh?
Yeah. How is he alive?
Well, Ricardo Jimenez, if you show up to the next Rockford show, Beer City Bruiser will do a shot with you. That's if you're out of jail.
As long as you're not on probation.
Right, yeah.
I'm not aiding and abetting here, Tim.
Oh, that's right.
Cruiser, don't get me in trouble with the law, all right?
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny.
Have I ever told you a story about how one of my shirts got me investigated?
No.
Yes, so it's not the first time my shirt's been found in a crime scene.
Really?
So years ago, I'd done a War Games cage match, and I'd bled. I had this custom-made shirt. This is back when I was Dinty Moore, and it had the Dinty Moore logo, and on the back it had all wrestling facts instead of nutrition facts.
Okay.
And I'd worn it in a cage, and I'd bled a lot. I mean, you see me, I bled a lot.
Yeah.
Well, a gentleman bought the shirt after the show for $250. I was like, shit, it's all bloody. You want it? He's like, yeah, please. Okay. About a year goes by, and there's a knock on my front door, and it's the FBI.
Oh, no.
And I was like, can I help you? And they're like, where were you on this date or whatever? And I was on a show, and I had proof, so I had an alibi, basically. So why how my name come up? This is... At the time, I was living in a town called Waukesha, and the crime happened like 45 minutes away in downtown Milwaukee. I'm like, what happened here? And they said, well, what happened was some people busted into an apartment, and they beat a woman to death with a baseball bat, and then they beat her son to death too.
Oh.
And among the stuff we found was a shirt with blood all over it, dried blood, and we did a DNA test, and it came back to your blood.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is the kid that bought my shirt, that was him and his mom.
Oh.
The shirt he had framed, but I guess in the scuffle it got knocked off the wall, shattered, and was amongst, everything in there.
Ah, okay. And they were testing everything that they found blood.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
So I was obviously cleared, and it turns out it was four hoodlums, we'll call them, that did it. It was just they were going to different apartments.
Okay.
And breaking in, and they just happened to be home, and the crime was committed. But it was like, okay, no, I had to show them proof I was a professional wrestler. I had to show them proof that was a T-shirt of mine that I used to sell, and I had pictures from the match, so I was able to show them that.
Yeah.
And then where I was that day, I thank God there's video proof because I was in a match, and you know what I mean. But it was scary at first, like, wow, I wasn't there, but hey.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The business of clearing yourself is arduous, Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but thank God I had all that information, and it was interesting. So I felt bad. Sorry the young man had to pass.
Yeah.
And his mom.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's a story. So I don't sell. That's why I don't sell bloody T-shirts anymore.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
They go for a lot of money, but I get leery now.
Yeah.
I get leery about my ring worn gear. Mrs. Bruiser wants me to sell some of that. I get real leery.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Well, there's, with the practice of touch DNA now.
Exactly.
There's, your DNA can be lifted off of anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Let alone a pair of trunks that I sweated in for however long,
Yeah. Well, your DNA is all over it. So.
My ball juice is in there, and be like, oh look.
I was trying to be nice about it. You're like, oh, my ball juice is all over it. And there's bacon strips, and Jesus Christ, who would want that shit? I was trying to be PC about the whole thing. So.
I just found a new way to sell my new pro wrestling T-shirt. I'll take Ricardo's mugshot and go be like Ricardo. Buy a Beer City Bruiser shirt when doing your next crime.
You want to speed in this.
Drunk and disorderly? Here you go.
That's a great slogan.
Yeah.
Beer City Bruiser, drunk and disorderly. Huh?
I pitched that in Ring of Honor, and they said no because it's an actual charge. So they wouldn't let us do it. We were going to be, Brian Malonis and I were going to be drunk and disorderly, the tag team, and they said no.
Really?
Yeah. That was one of the original names tossed around.
Oh, that's such a good name.
It is, but they were owned by Sinclair, and Sinclair said no, so.
Such a good name.
But you know what? No one owns me now. I'm going to contact my graphic artist guy and make it happen.
That's right. That's got to be one of your shirts, drunk and disorderly. That's right. Second part of the vehicular tour that we're taking today, we go to Pennsylvania, where a Pennsylvania man allegedly drove into the second story of a house in an intentional act.
Oh, was he trying to jump the house?
I don't know. Let's find out what's going on with Evil
Like,
Knievel
I feel like
Jr.
the start is a bet, like, hey, cruiser, I bet you can't jump that house. And you'd be like, well, watch me. You get in your car. And
Well, I don't think he had the right equipment to do it. I'll tell you why here in a second. This actually took place at the beginning of August, about August 6th. A 20-year-old man was arrested after he allegedly crashed his car into the second story of a home, according to Pennsylvania State Police on August 6th at 3:15 in the afternoon. I always wonder about that when somebody does this mid-afternoon. Like, is this boredom or alcohol?
How is their day going?
Yeah, exactly. Troopers responded to a car crash at a residence on Alpharetta Road. I had to be careful how I said that because I wanted to make sure the A was in the right place, and determined that the crash was an intention from the scene, which showed the car at an angle on the roof with a back wheel hanging off. Yikes. Here's what he tried to jump in, Bruiser. The Toyota Corolla's entire front grille and bumper were destroyed. A Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
When you're
not a lot of power there.
No, when you're thinking jumping machine, I don't think Toyota Corolla comes to mind.
No, not at all.
No. The home's entire top window appeared shattered along with the wall of what looks like is a home gym. Junction Fire said the suspect was not in the car, and firefighters put a tarp over the giant hole to protect the house from impending storms. Court records show Miller faces 8 charges, including aggravated assault, careless driving, recklessly endangering another person, and more. WGAC-TV, we call it the Jack. Reports several people were sitting on the bottom story of the home right under the room where Miller crashed the car. Following the incident, Miller allegedly ran around the scene and claimed he saw demons.
Oh, so he's trying to get that mental health right off the bat.
Yeah. Court documents cited by the Jack allege he also believed he was a demon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he was a screaming demon in a Toyota Corolla.
I was going to say, the cop goes, you're not a demon. No demon would drive a Toyota Corolla.
That's right. Demons have hot rods, man. Toyota Corolla is not a hot rod.
Yeah, demons are muscle cars, whether you want it or not. They're not driving a Prius or a Corolla.
Satan sitting around going, we need to crash through a house today. How about a Toyota Corolla?
How can I crash into a house but protect the environment? Oh, a Toyota Corolla. That's what I'm going to send my demon to do.
That's pretty green.
You little demon, go possess him. Jump a house. Don't use a fancy Chevelle. No. Use a Corolla.
Dodge Challenger or Toyota Corolla. According to WPMT-TV, officials believe Miller was driving about 90 to 100 miles an hour when he crashed. You're not going to clear it at 90 or 100.
No, you got to go faster.
Yeah, you got to get up there. He reportedly hit a culvert and the car went flying.
That was just off a curb. Good for him. No ramp. I mean, that's impressive.
That is impressive, yeah. An official at the scene reportedly told Miller, or said Miller was attempting to inflict self-harm due to a mental health episode. Well, that isn't good.
That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad. So there you go.
You know what would have helped him clear it?
What's that?
And I think would have helped his mental health too.
What's that?
If he was blasting the Dukes of Hazzard theme song.
Oh, no. I suppose that probably went off as he was in the air.
Yeah.
And then you heard the ghost of Waylon Jennings go, well, that Duke boy's at it again.
It's the good old boys.
Yeah. This one is confusing.
Okay.
I throw this in there only because it was the most confusing story I've read this week.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be pretty confusing.
The headline is confusing. A Nevada man was found decapitated in bed with smoke coming out of his body.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, right? We go to Henderson, Nevada, where a 45-year-old woman was arrested on suspicion of murder after the victim's mother discovered him decapitated inside his bedroom last week. Now, if I were going to go out, sure it'd be next to a woman, sure I'd be decapitated and smoke coming out of my body and hoping I had a great time. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would hope.
That's just the way to go.
You would think. In a statement, Henderson police said officers in the fire department responded to a home on the 2000 block of Pauladura Drive on August 7th at 8:40 a.m. after receiving a call about a dead person inside. When they arrived, they found a male victim deceased. Police said that the man's death was the result of a homicide.
You think?
Well, it wasn't natural causes, that's for sure. Henderson.
I'm sorry. I died from decapitation. You know what's going around that season.
Well, you know that song about Bobby had something in his head popped off, or I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's probably.
Have you gotten your decapitation shot this year? Are you good?
I haven't. You
have. You better get that. It's the season.
It is the season. Henderson police identified the victim's girlfriend, Devin Michaels, as a suspect and arrested her August 15th on a charge of open murder, as opposed to that closed murder we've all heard of. The Las Vegas Review-Journal reports the victim had been identified as 46-year-old Jonathan James Willett. Willett and Michaels were in a relationship, but Michaels is also married to Willett's son.
Wait, huh?
Right?
Okay.
Did I read that right?
Willett and her in a relationship, but she's married to Willett's son. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Keeping it in the family. Again, don't go to family reunions to pick up women.
Yeah. Court documents cited by the Las Vegas Review-Journal says Michaels and the son wed to help each other out.
Oh, okay.
Willett's son reportedly told investigators their marriage is not a typical marriage and that they got married so he could help Devin with her medical issues.
So he had insurance, she doesn't. They got married. Got it.
I guess so. On the morning of August 7th, Willett's mother went into his room and found her son wrapped up in blankets and bloody. Police noted in their report that Willett's head had been severed from his body and was not observed to be in the room. That's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
KLAS TV, The Lost. I don't know. Was also cited in the court documents, reports investigators, and they noted a chemical odor coming from his room, most likely from bleach or ammonia. The chemicals were allegedly put on Willett's body, which resulted in smoke emanating from it.
Okay, they were trying to hide evidence, not knowing they're creating a chemical bomb.
Yeah. Investigators discovered several of Willett's personal items, such as his wallet and phone with blood on them. Willett and Michaels were reportedly in the process of moving in together because they have two daughters, that according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Michaels reportedly told police Willett was abusive and made a child take showers in front of him.
How? Okay, I feel bad for those two children. For one, this guy sounds like a piece of crap doing that.
Yeah.
But for two, your uncle is also your stepfather.
Yeah.
So therefore, your father is your grandfather. Step-grandfather, right? Grandfather.
Yeah, you lost me there. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your
this is very confusing. You are not lying with that headline.
Yeah, that family tree doesn't fork, brother. I know that much. The night of his death, Willett allegedly tried to get her to conduct a sexual act on him, but she refused and hit him on the head with a wooden stick.
Okay.
Bad
Good.
stepfather uncle. Bad stepfather uncle. According to the arrest report, Michael stated that she did not want to kill Jonathan and only wanted to hurt him enough that he would have to go to the hospital because she wanted him out of the way so she could figure out what she could do with her children. Oh, that's sad.
That is very sad.
Yeah. Court records show Michaels was denied bail. So,
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. This qualifies as the story most sent to me during the week.
Oh, I love when we have our listeners send us stuff. They always send us the good stuff, too. And when they all do it, you know it's good.
That's right. A Florida woman allegedly killed her elderly roommate and poured Mountain Dew on herself to hide the evidence.
Because Mountain Dew gets rid of DNA.
That's right. Evidently, Mountain Dew is the official drink of removing DNA.
I cannot wait till they catch that latest serial killer. And they said, how can we not have gotten you for so long? Mountain Dew. Do the do.
Do the do, the official drink of removing DNA. Now, you know what? That's going to get cut out, and someone's going to put that on a commercial.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We go to Daytona Beach, Florida, of course, where a 35-year-old woman faces murder and other charges after she allegedly stabbed her 80-year-old roommate to death and tried to hide the evidence and attacked officers arresting her. Oh, it's the triple-double. Yeah. Yep. Volusia County court records show Nicole Max was charged August 16th with one count of first-degree murder and arson of a dwelling. She was previously charged in July with tampering with physical evidence and resisting an officer with violence. According to Mac's affidavit, on Saturday, July 1st at 1:46 a.m., someone waved down a Daytona Beach police officer, sergeant, due to a house fire at a residence on Clark Street. Police and fire personnel arrived at the scene, and when firefighters got into the home, they found a man with blunt force trauma injuries to the back of his head and stab wounds to his torso. Paramedics pronounced the victim, 80-year-old Michael Sarasoli, dead. After firefighters extinguished the blaze, detectives obtained a search warrant for the residence and found a bloody knife near Sarasoli's body and blood near Max's room. Detectives also discovered 2 cell phones in the room. One was plugged in and placed on the bed, while the other was on a windowsill with a knife on it.
Way to hide the evidence.
Yeah.
Hey, she was all hopped up on the dew.
Yeah, well, when you're hopped up on the dew, you don't think straight.
Yeah.
Investigators learned the phone on the bed was Sarasoli's and the other belonged to Max. My guess is the one with the knife on it was Max. Max wasn't home, and when the police and fire departments got there, a detective located her at about 3:30 a.m. standing near a restaurant without shoes on. My guess is she wasn't served.
No.
She allegedly was still holding a knife and hammer, which she dropped when the detective ordered her to.
Oh, thank God you found me. I've been holding these for 12 hours.
It's about time you got here.
I left all the clues. Where were you guys? Get on your due and come find me.
According to the affidavit, Max had blood on her body and shirt. When speaking with detectives, so what's the Mountain Dew going to do?
She can say she was at the restaurant and had a very bloody steak.
Oh.
As you can tell from the Mountain Dew that she spilled.
Right. I forgot about that. When speaking with detective, what was the hammer and knife for? I was trying to cut the steak.
It's a big tomahawk steak. She had to use that.
Tomahawk. When speaking with detectives, Max allegedly changed her story multiple times and said she had been homeless for about 4 years. She claimed she had gone to the hospital earlier that day because she had a panic attack while running on a treadmill with a hammer.
With a hammer and a knife while homeless, because you can just go into Planet Fitness and do that.
Yeah. She reportedly denied knowing Sarasoli, then admitted she lived with him. The affidavit says Max admitted she was at the residence with the victim, then changed her story multiple times on when she and the victim were together. Max admits she is not homeless and resides at the residence with the victim. Max allegedly said she never went into Sarasoli's room, but she goes upstairs to feed her spiders.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah. What's she feeding her spiders, Sarasoli?
Mellow yellow. The dew's for her. The dew's for her.
The dew's for her to wash off the DNA. Yeah. She then allegedly claimed Sarasoli picked her up from the hospital and no one else was at their home the day of the killing. When the detective asked Max why she had a knife and hammer in her possession. Are you ready for this, Bruiser?
Yes, I am.
She reportedly denied carrying these items and then charged her story and admitted she carries a knife, but she retrieved the hammer from her closet tonight. Does that make any sense?
No. So first she's like, I don't have these items you're speaking of that are in my hand right now.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I always carry this knife around, don't you? This is my Mountain Dew knife. And the hammer I got from my closet because that's where you keep your hammer.
You got it.
Yeah, I followed that. Well, I took a sip of Mountain Dew. I got it.
Officers escorted her to the patrol car and informed her that they would take her DNA after obtaining a warrant for it. Max requested a drink at that time, and an officer handed her a Diet Mountain Dew.
See, that was her mistake. She went diet. Diet doesn't kill DNA.
That's right. It's the regular stuff.
Yeah.
She allegedly began to procrastinate while drinking the soft drink, and when the officer tried to take the can away, she began to resist and began pouring the can of soda all over her body and hair and pulling away from officers in attempts to interfere with the possible evidence on Mac's body. She allegedly began pulling and kicking officers while they were trying to secure Max in the vehicle. Forensic reports showed Mac's DNA on the handle of the knife found in Sarasoli's room, and his DNA was on the blade. Court records show a mental exam was ordered August 14th.
So she didn't even have the knife she killed him with. She killed him, set the knife she used down, and went and got a new knife.
Well, you know, you never know when you're going to be in a rumble on the streets of
I
Daytona
guess.
Beach. Oh my God. I had a friend.
Mountain Dew has me so happy right now.
I had a friend who used to dance at Lollipops in Daytona Beach.
Oh.
Just saying. I know people in all walks of life.
I'd like to go to Biketoberfest down there in Daytona. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Yeah, I've heard it is.
Yeah, just saying. It's a good time, good time, good time. So, there you go. We move on. Only in Kentucky is how we I know. People in Kentucky are firing up the old email machine right now. Only in Kentucky is how we preface this next story.
Okay. Are we going to Louisville?
No.
You lobbed it, man. You lobbed it right up there.
We're going to Daviess County.
Oh, okay. So is that by Louisville?
Where they even spell this wrong. Daviess County has 2 S's. So you can't trust anybody in Kentucky.
No, you can't.
They don't pronounce Louisville correctly, and they don't know how to spell Daviess County.
Okay.
There's your proof.
I say Louisville because that's what it is. It's Louisville.
It's not. It's Louisville. There was no King Louis.
Yes, there was.
No.
King Louis.
Go to France. Go to France. They say, hey, did you ever have a King Louis? And they'll say, are you having a stroke? No. It is King Louis. King Louis. Not
still
King
Louisville.
Louis.
I've wrestled in Louisville. It's Louisville.
You wrestled where? King Louis.
So what's happening in Daviess County? That's spelled wrong, you said.
They didn't call Muhammad Ali the Lip or the Louis Lip, did they? No, they called him the Louis Lip.
The Louisville Lip.
No, they didn't call him the Louis Lip. They
He went to the University of Louisville.
No, they didn't go Louis. It was Louis. God damn it. So, okay, back to our story. Diner employees are caught smuggling drugs during Daviess County trial, according to deputies.
Okay.
Why not smuggle those drugs in while catering?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Because it's stupid. That's why.
It worked in Ocean's whatever.
It's a movie.
I know.
We go to Daviess County, Kentucky. They ain't too bright there, I guess. 6 people are now facing charges after authorities in Daviess County say they were caught trying to smuggle drugs during a trial.
Oh, during a trial? Okay.
Yes, in a courtroom.
Well, that's smart. You do, but you know, when you got to deliver your drugs, you got to deliver your drugs.
Not so much.
You know, they want their Yelp review to be pretty high as drug dealers.
I gave them 5 stars because they tried to deliver right to the courthouse to me.
I was being tried for something, and I turn around, and there's Swifty with my marijuana.
I had a pound of Coke in my turkey sandwich, and I loved it. A release shows on Wednesday, August 16th, during the trial of Harold Sanders, food was delivered from outside the court system intended for Sanders. Sanders was on trial for trying to kill, an Owensboro Police Department officer. Yes,
oh, okay.
He was trying to kill an officer of the law, so they decided to deliver drugs to the guy.
Like, this isn't a whole high-profile case that has the eyes of every law enforcement officer on it at all.
So there's probably a lot of officers testifying at this trial.
Yeah.
So what should you do? Deliver drugs. Officials say it is unusual for food intended for inmates to be delivered from anywhere other than the jail.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think you could just go and order Domino's pizza to be delivered during the trial.
No. Court staff became suspicious and the food container was then searched. Well, duh. The Davies County Sheriff's Office, they suspected drugs were found inside. Investigators were then called and the drugs were seized to be tested. During the investigation, detectives say they discovered an inmate used his phone privileges to place a takeout order at Dee's Diner.
So what was the dude's plan? Like, oh, hey, this guy's going to trial. He'll open up a sandwich, see my drugs, put them in his pants till he gets back here. Or is he thinking, oh, you know what? This trial's real stressful. I'm going to get him some drugs. That way he can take them and just kind of lay back and chill.
Well, yeah. I mean, even if it's an individual serving, okay, yeah. and what, he's going to pop something. Okay, yeah. Fine. If he's going to prison purse it and then take it back, wouldn't you think he's going to be searched when he gets back?
You would think so. That's how all the criminal systems I know of act.
It's not too smart. They say the inmate asked for the food to be picked up by a third party and that an employee at the restaurant put drugs in the food container. According to a release, the investigation revealed evidence that this was not an isolated incident, but that it had occurred before and involves multiple employees from Dee's Diner and inmates from the Davies County Detention Center. Sanders, along with 43-year-old Timothy Fullerton, 24-year-old Timothy Fullerton. Wait, there's two Timothy Fullertons? They couldn't get original and name him something else?
Nope, they loved Timothy the first time. They just named his brother that too.
It must be his son. 43-year-old Timothy Fullerton and 24-year-old Timothy Fullerton.
Yeah, father-son.
21-year-old Matthew Fullerton and 44-year-old Jennifer Fullerton and 24.
So yeah, they're all related.
Yeah. Gee, ain't that something? And 24-year-old Eric Burrows, who must be an employee, were all charged with conspiracy to commit trafficking in controlled substance. Let me show you a picture of our.
Hopefully, they gave the DoorDash driver a good review. Oh, Matthew, you are a winner. They are all winners.
Yeah, aren't they? Take a good look, Bruiser. There's your criminal syndicate right there.
Matthew Fullerton looks like he's dead.
Yeah, they're masterminds.
Yeah.
All of them.
I would not order food from that diner if they were my servers.
They're the guys,
cooks or anything.
They're the guys making the food for you. So.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. They look like meth heads.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. We move on. We're going to the world of Florida Wally Mart.
Yay!
Yay! This one sent to us as well from a listener. By the way, you guys are so cool. You send us a lot of stories per week. We appreciate it. If you have a story for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, just send it to tim@darknessradio.com. Again, we appreciate everything you send us. You can't catch me is the quote from a Florida man who puts $300 worth of stolen Walmart merchandise in his pants. My guess is if you've got $300 worth of merchandise in your pants, they're going to catch you eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. We go to Ocala, Florida, where a Florida man was arrested after allegedly putting over $300 worth of merchandise in his pants. That, according to an arrest affidavit from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Justin Goodrow was arrested on charges of misdemeanor petty theft, there's a T in it, felony drug possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. Ooh, he had pills.
Yeah, look at that.
He was a pillhead. And misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. The alleged theft... Oh, you got to see this kid when I show you the picture. The alleged theft happened Tuesday at the Walmart on, I believe this is Bahia Avenue in Ocala. A Walmart loss prevention officer told deputies a suspicious man fled the parking lot in a red Kia.
You're not going to get far in a Kia.
No, after he allegedly placed numerous items in his pants and walked past the registers. When the loss prevention officer tried to stop the suspect, later identified as Goodrow, he said, "You can't catch me." Before,
boo, boo, you can't catch me.
Before leaving the parking lot, the affidavit states, a deputy was able to locate Goodrow in the red Kia about a half mile away. and initiated a traffic stop. Goodrow was put in handcuffs while the deputy investigated the driver, who was removed from the vehicle, gave deputies permission to search the vehicle. At that point, the affidavit states, while Goodrow was detained, he asked a deputy if he could smoke a cigarette, which was inside the front door of the passenger seat. The deputy found the box and saw a small folded yellow piece of paper which contained a crystal-like substance.
Oh, gosh.
That was field tested for methamphetamine.
Mental note, when asking for a final cigarette, don't send him where the meth is.
Yeah, exactly. He's not too bright. I'll show you the picture. You'll see he looks like he's not bright. Inside the car was a backpack that not only contained several opened Walmart items, but also a clear pipe. The items found in Goodrow's backpack included a watch, lubricant, in case he needed to house that pipe, I guess, a portable charger, and headphones, totaling $323 before tax, and were returned to loss prevention. So he stole lubricant.
Yep. He figured, hey, if I'm going to jail.
Do you want to see the quote-unquote chode that stole lubricant?
Oh, I love how gangster he's trying to be with that angry look. Oh, I'm hard. No, you're not.
Yeah, boy.
He's going to get the shit kicked out of him on day one.
That's the mama's boy that stole lubricant. Do you think they're going to use lubricant on him, Bruiser?
No, spit. Spit is lubricant, I guess.
Yeah, if he's lucky.
Yeah.
He might get
That kid wants to be hard so bad. That kid was picked on his whole life.
He's probably going to get it dry the first time.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
He's because you know him. He's going to say something stupid and get the crap kicked out of him, and then they'll be like, oh, hey, you're going to be a little bitch.
Another story sent to us by our wonderful listeners. By the way, for this story, I hate to say this, Bruiser, but we're going to have to use this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. AI has crept into dumb crime, stupid criminals.
What did this racist, homophobic bot do?
AI facial recognition has led to an 8-month pregnant woman's wrongful carjacking arrest in front of her kids. It has led to a lawsuit.
Oh, of course it has.
Portia Woodruff, mother of 3 from Detroit, was arrested based on artificial intelligence technology. Congratulations, AI. You've done it again.
I really hope they showed up and went, wait, are we sure this is her? She is super pregnant right now.
Not only is it racist, it's pregnantist. AI-powered facial recognition wrongfully pinpointed an 8-month pregnant woman for a violent carjacking, according to a lawsuit. 6 police officers, that's right, I've been drinking again. 6 police officers swarmed Portia Woodruff's Detroit home before 8 a.m. one morning in February while she was getting her 12 and 6-year-old kids ready for school, according to the federal lawsuit. I have a warrant for your arrest. Step outside, one of the officers told Woodruff, who initially thought it was a joke.
All right, who swatted me? Come on, who swatted me?
Officers told her she was being arrested for robbery and carjacking. Are you kidding? Carjacking? Did you see that I'm 8 months pregnant? She responded before she was cuffed. By the way,
only cuffed her and everything. What the hell?
Here's a sweet little lady in a.
Oh, come on. Right. She's not carjacking anybody. Right.
She's all of what? If she weren't pregnant, she'd be all of what, 110 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't carjack anybody. The 32-year-old Woodruff, who was living with her fiance and 2 kids, was implicated as a suspect through a photo lineup shown to the victim following an unreliable facial recognition match. God. The photo used in the lineup was an 8-year-old mugshot from a 2015 arrest in Canton, Michigan, despite police having access to a more recent photo in her driver's license, according to the lawsuit.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Good. I hope she wins.
The officers cuffed the pregnant mother in front of her kids.
It's horrible.
She was forced to tell her 2 children, who stood there crying, to go upstairs and wake Woodruff's fiance to tell him, Mommy is going to jail. This according to the lawsuit. Her fiance and mother, who he called, tried to defend her to the police, but to no avail. Woodruff was led into a police vehicle, searched and handcuffed as neighbors and her family watched. That, according to the lawsuit. During questioning, police asked about her tattoos, if she knew a man that she didn't know, and what her cell phone carrier was. According to the legal action, which later showed none of the answers matched the description of the suspect for whom they were looking.
So they missed out on all fronts, all because they decided to trust a stupid, lying, racist, homophobic, pregnant-fearing bot.
Yes. At one point, Woodruff asked the detective, did the victim say the female was 8 months pregnant? The officer responded no.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays you don't want to assume. She could have just been fat. I've lost a few bets that way.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
She spent 2 more months in a holding cell. 2 more hours. 2 more hours, not months.
Okay.
Oh, God, I read that wrong.
So
Sorry.
2 hours is too long when you're 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, it is. It is. She spent 2 more hours in a holding cell after the questioning until she was arraigned. She sat on a concrete bench for approximately 11 hours before being released, since there were no beds or chairs available, according to the lawsuit. The stress stirred medical complications with the baby as well as dehydration, according to the lawsuit. All this happened between 7:50 a.m. and 7 p.m. on February 16th. By March 7th, the case was dismissed for insufficient evidence. It took that long to dismiss the case.
To clear her name.
Yeah.
She had better win a ton of money.
The Detroit police did not respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital. Believe it or not, there have been previous AI wrongful arrests in Detroit. This isn't the first one.
So they might as well stop using it. But their response was, babe, we do wrong.
That was official, by the way.
That was the official, yep.
From a podium.
Yes, with the city seal on it.
Yeah.
And RoboCop standing in the background.
Before the wrongful arrest of Woodruff, by the way, is black. Bruiser hit this on the head.
Yeah.
AI is racist.
Yep.
Detroit police arrested 2 black men named Robert Williams and Michael Oliver, who also became highly publicized cases. Both men were falsely accused by AI, which sparked a lawsuit from the American Civil Liberties Union. There are other cases like this across the country, including the wrongful arrest of a black Georgia woman for purse thefts in Louisiana.
See, and they're all black because AI is racist.
That's right. Now, you may be saying, what's the big deal with AI being racist? Well, it turns out that AI has a problem with facial recognition technology in African Americans.
Yeah, because of the skin tone.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And Bruiser hit it on the head right there. And even Ziggy Starpup knows that, evidently.
Yeah, they're here.
That's right.
They heard us talking about AI. They wanted to come check on me.
That's right. U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology's research in 2019, which was considered a landmark study at the time, is often cited in news articles and other research papers as a jumping off point for this. The study showed that African American and Asian faces were up to 100 times more likely to be misidentified than white faces in facial recognition technology.
Because AI is racist.
Native Americans were misidentified the most often.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Women's darker skin tones are even more likely to be misidentified by AI-powered facial recognition, according to NIST.
So maybe we just don't use it. Simple solution.
At least until it's perfected.
Let's send some kid to art school, become a police sketch artist. There you go.
There you go. Other academic research throughout the world, including the United Kingdom and Canada, have seen similar disparities, according to a May report by Amnesty International. So there you go. So thank you to our listeners to continue to send us those stories and
prove us right that AI is racist.
That's right. And it's nightmare fuel. The world's slowest murder is our attempted murder, I should say. The world's slowest attempted murder is what we report on this week. An Alabama man is accused of trying to run over an elderly woman with a lawnmower. Of course, it happened in Alabama.
Of course it did. I can't wait to hear if it's a pushing or riding.
The report is that the neighbors all sat on the porch with a cup of sweet tea and just sat and watched.
Playing dominoes.
It took all afternoon.
It was like the Austin Powers scene.
Yes, yeah. All afternoon.
Bessie May, move. You have about an hour and a half. You better move.
I do believe he's trying to chase that there woman down with a lawnmower.
What was Billy Bob doing with that lawnmower? Is he chasing Bessie May again? She'll move, right? She'll move.
I guess she will.
She not moving yet there, Cruiser. What are we going to do?
I believe I need me a refresher on my sweet tea.
Oh, sweet tea sounds good. We'll wait for Bubba to finish mowing that lawn.
Sure is hot out here. Sure is hot. Deputies arrested a 29-year-old man this week for allegedly hitting a woman with a shovel and dragging her with a lawnmower.
Slowest drag ever.
According to the I don't mean to laugh at this, but it's just stupid. According to the Morgan County Sheriff's Office on Monday, August 7th, deputies responded to the 400 block of Tapscott Road after someone contacted 911 or 911 as we call it, via a home alarm system. When officials arrived, they found a woman with visible marks on her, as well as grass stains on her clothes, leaves in her hair, and complaining of injuries.
You see, what happened here is Billy Bobby tied me up. He dragged me all around this thing, and I'm all out of my Clorox. I don't know how I'm getting my son dressed clean.
You're talking way too fast for Alabama.
I am. Her adrenaline's flowing. She was just dragged at 3 miles an hour.
You got to talk way slower. Deputies learned that Philip Glenn Brennan allegedly became violent with the woman by the way, my friend John from Alabama right now is probably laughing at me.
Tim, you're talking too fast. Slow it down even more.
Tim, you got to slow way down.
Down here in the South, we have our own pace.
Deputies learned that Philip Glenn Brennan allegedly became violent with the woman by hitting her with a shovel, attempting to run over her feet with a push mower. You win.
It was a push mower, okay.
Yep. And dragging the victim across the yard behind a riding lawnmower. It was a daily double.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. He was arrested and charged with second-degree elder abuse. I didn't know that was a charge.
Yeah, oh yeah. You hear about it all the time in nursing homes.
And neglect and third-degree domestic violence.
So they live together. Okay.
I guess. Brendan was booked into the Morgan County Jail and is being held on how much bond?
$2,500.
More.
$50,000.
Lower. She's not that important, I guess, to him.
$10,000.
$20,300.
Okay.
I think it should have been more, but that's
just me. He used both types of mowers.
Well, that's not why it should be more. Because he fucked with the environment. He used two kinds of mowers.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
He's not reducing his carbon footprint.
That's not why he should be more. Because it's elder abuse.
Yeah. It should be more because, she's got to buy the Clorox now to get that dress clean.
No, Bruiser. That's not the lesson we're teaching here. It's to respect your elders. Okay, now we're at the NSFW portion of our program, Not Safe for Work. It's at this point that if you're listening at work, you're going to want to put in your headphones or your earbuds or AirPods, and then you're going to want to, if there's kids in the room, I don't know why you haven't escorted them out of the room by now. You're a bad parent or grandparent. But get the kids out of the room because it's about time that we're about to get a little naughty on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. This is the Not Safe for Work portion of our program. We're going to do that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And are you ready, Bruiser?
Oh, I'm ready. I got everything closed up. Kids are in different states.
Kids are in different states.
I got headphones on, ready to. Let's get not safe.
Wow, you really prepared for this. You put kids in different states. Nice.
I did.
Nice.
Shipped their ass out.
Nice.
Send one to college. One's a high-end pharmacy tech. Made one serve our country.
Wow. You were
Just
thinking,
for this moment right here, for you and me. I've been planning, Tim.
I guess you have. Have you heard of the Barnes & Noble sniffer?
No, I have not heard of the Barnes & Noble sniffer.
We joke and we're laughing here, but people are saying we should be taking him seriously.
Okay.
The Barnes & Noble sniffer. Now, I'm going to admit, up until today's episode, I had not heard of the Barnes & Noble sniffer.
Neither have I, and I'm curious as to A, who, and B, what he is sniffing.
Now,
and how.
Victims of the Barnes & Noble sniffer have low expectations for justice after he has been caught, but then they let him go.
Why do they keep letting him go? He's sniffing stuff.
Well, he's sniffing people.
Wait, that's a crime?
He kind of gets his nose in it, if you know what I mean.
I can see it being a crime if you touch them.
Well,
but if I'm just sniffing?
He kind of does. He kind of gets his nose in it. I have a picture.
Okay. Of him sniffing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he gets in there.
He kind of gets in the rear, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
so
okay.
What happens?
He drops a book.
No.
He bends over to pick up the book, and then, oops, my nose is in your asshole.
I think he just, there will be a woman at the stacks looking at a book, and I think he just kind of goes up and puts his nose in it.
Okay, so she's just sitting there checking out 50 Shades, oh, chicken. Oh, what is that? There's a nose in my tush.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of a.
I didn't know this was a CNC.
I believe it was Shakespeare that says a nose by any other name is a nose that grows, if you know what I mean. Following yet another arrest for Barnes & Noble sniffer and career sex predator Celeste Crowder. One of his victims is demanding that the Los Angeles authorities, we go to L.A., take the perverted prowler more seriously.
Yes.
It says, I'm relieved that he was arrested again, but I unfortunately don't have high expectations with him being kept there for long, says Michaela Witter, one of at least two women who caught Crowder on video sneaking up behind them in the Burbank bookstore.
Caught him on video? So they were filming themselves.
Either that or Barnes & Noble caught him.
Yeah.
On their cameras. She was right. He walked out of jail again Friday with Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gasson's office telling Fox News Digital they did not have enough evidence to prosecute his latest allied crime, failing to register as a sex offender. After Witter posted about her encounter on TikTok, the video went viral, and she said at least 20 other women had reached out to her with similar stories.
Yeah, this guy needs to be on the list and quick.
He's a serial sniffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And serial sniffing goes to much bigger crimes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. He kind of looks like a really skinny Dr. Dre.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a malnourished Dr. Dre. She says, I've talked with others who were affected by Celeste, I believe it's Celeste, not Celeste, but Celeste Crowder, who suffered from PTSD because of him, don't feel safe going out because of him. And I want to know why the justice system isn't taking this as seriously as it is, she told Fox News Digital. I think if you see this guy out in public, you know him.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, he's easy.
But she's right, though. It needs to be taken seriously. He's sniffing, but that's still sexual assault.
It is. Yeah. And it's a definite invasion of boundaries.
I don't recommend anyone sniffing my butt just because I know what comes out of it.
God.
But don't be in a Barnes & Noble. And why right. Barnes & Noble?
Because it's easy to get people vulnerable there.
That's true, because you're sitting there browsing through their books.
You're relaxed.
Yeah.
You're in what you think
well,
is a
that's the
safe
wrong
space.
time to sniff a butt is when you're relaxed. If someone's relaxed, you don't want to get your nose up in there. That could be the draw. Yep, never mind.
That's the perfect time to get it up there.
There's porn out there that celebrates that, and I've been trying to tell Mrs. Bruiser that she needs to get on that. It can be fully clothed, just ripping ass. People pay for it.
They do.
Yeah.
There's weirdos everywhere.
This is the weirdest of the weird of them.
Yep. The repeat offender has been in and out of police custody since at least 2005.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. That's what records show. He served time in state prison for burglary and robbery charges. Turd burglary.
When do they look into like a mental health help?
Well, he probably needs that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on Tuesday, he pleaded no contest to peeping and prowling. He was freed from custody hours later, despite a 60-day jail sentence under California laws.
God.
He was arrested after allegedly peeping into a family's home where there were children inside on August 6th. He was also released earlier this year, partway through a 1-year jail sentence for indecent exposure in Santa Clarita.
This is how serial killers have started.
That's right. This has been happening for over 13 years, so they either need to get him serious help by keeping him in a facility that will do that or keeping him in jail where he can't harm anyone else, Witter said. Crowder Thursday... I'm sorry, I just saw the picture. I shouldn't be laughing. The picture I'm going to show you here in a second, Bruiser. Crowder Thursday was arrested a day after Fox News Digital revealed his name did not appear on the state's registry. This time, jail records show he was held on $20,000 bond, but only briefly before Gasson's office declined to pursue the failure to register charge. Okay, so...
How's it? There's no evidence he failed to register.
That's him setting up.
Okay.
So you can see where the crime gets committed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
She's a very attractive woman, too.
Well, yeah, she is. She is. I'm going to see here if there's... She said, so I recorded just in case. And then she says, like, what the actual...
Wow, he's way up in there.
Yeah. He gets a good whiff.
He is way up in there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Just saying. Yeah. If, let's just put it this way. If he was a quarterback, he wouldn't be receiving the hike. He'd be getting it in the face.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
He basically can smell what she had for breakfast.
Oh, come on, Bruiser. I didn't want to go that far. But
it's like she's his hat. That's what it is.
Yeah, there's that. Another TikToker using the handle @ArtOfTheReality posted a video. Look it up on TikTok, kids. @ArtOfTheReality.
Just look up Barnes and Noble Sniffer. You'll find it.
I don't. @ArtOfTheReality posted a video in which she turned around and confronted the man, identified as Crowder. She found crouched behind her at the Burbank Barnes and Noble that she said she recorded in March.
So I wonder I'm curious what the audio is of the confrontation.
That's a good question.
Because clearly she turned around and goes, "Why are you up my ass?" I want to hear what his response is.
Why are you up my ass?
Isn't that what you'd say? If you saw how far up he was, wouldn't that'd be your first response?
Should we look it up real quick?
I'd be like, "Why are you up my ass right now?"
Should we look it up real quick? I've got my TikTok up here. Let me hold on a second. Well, that's the noise you hear in the background. You're Rocky Stucci right now, who's very funny, by the way. If you're ever look up Rocky Stucci, ROCCI, very funny guy. All right, let's look up. We're doing this live on air as we do this.
I know this is gonna be great. I hope it better be good audio.
Reality.
Barnes and Noble Sniffer, don't let us down.
Yeah.
As you've let the world down.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Art of the Reality. Oh, there he is.
Oh.
Top.
Hey, are you following me?
No. My bad.
Yeah.
So he just goes, "Oh, my bad." Okay.
She says, when I rewatched the video later, I realized he was crouched down sniffing my ass.
Oh, so she didn't know that. Okay, so he couldn't have been all that up in there.
He left after I confronted him, and my cousin reported him to Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, him just going, "Oh, my bad." He is creepy.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he is really creepy.
Yeah. Again, check it out for yourself, folks. @ArtOfTheReality on TikTok.
He's a creepy dude. He's a serial killer in the making. They need to nip this in the bud right now. Otherwise, he's gonna have a necklace made of women buttholes.
I don't want to know what that looks like, and I don't want to know how you came to that conclusion.
That's Dean, man. He had a belt made of nipples.
That's right. You are from Wisconsin. I keep forgetting that. The quote is, "This is real shit us girls go through and needs to be taken seriously," she wrote in the caption. As of Sunday, Crowder had not been charged in the bookstore incident. Glendale police, who have repeatedly arrested Crowder over the years, only to see the criminal justice system put him back in the streets, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. They're still they're still asking anyone with information on Crowder's potential misdeeds to contact them at 818-548-4911. Glendale Police Department arrested Crowder yesterday on a misdemeanor charge of failing to register pursuant to Penal Code Section 290. The statement continued, after careful review of the evidence, the office was unable to file any charges due to insufficient evidence as to the notice requirement. Gasson also said his office has been made aware of the viral video of Crowder at the Barnes & Noble in Burbank. This incident is being investigated by the Burbank Police Department. No case has been presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office related to that incident, he said. There are no other cases against Crowder pending review with the office. We joke, folks, I know that, but and this is very serious. But here's a recent picture of him. Like I said, he shaved his head and he looks like a very emaciated Dr. Dre.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shaved his head to try and hide his identity. Something needs to be done with him because those traits that he's portraying are just going to evolve and evolve and evolve, and eventually he's going to hurt somebody.
Right. And he's crossing
more than the mental anguish he's already put on people.
Right.
You know?
And he's crossing boundaries. Every time he does this, he's crossing more and more boundaries, and he's getting more and more brave.
And the scary thing is that the peeping one, children were involved.
Yes, exactly. So the more boundaries he crosses, the more he's going to get braver and braver.
How frustrated do you think those police are that they keep making the arrest, but the DA doesn't do anything about it? Like, that's got to be just frustrating.
Incredibly frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, the more people come forward, step forward, and talk about him to police and get him arrested more and more, the more it's going to, they have to make it stick.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Final story today on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. This is just shocking. It's shocking, yet it's funny. Bruiser, I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you urinated outside?
Yesterday.
Okay. If I were to tell you that police there in North Carolina could roll up and arrest you for that, what would be your response?
I can see it if I'm not on my own property. Like yesterday, I would have gotten in trouble, yeah. But if I'm on my own property, like, I pay tax. And then I'm not showing, like, I'm not exposing myself to anybody. Like, if I just go in my little private bush, that's fine. It's my property. I'm not exposing myself to anybody. I'm not making it known to anybody. I think that's okay.
A 10-year-old was arrested in his own yard.
Come on.
For peeing behind his mom's car.
Okay, this is too much. My son, when he was 10, so we used to go to Mrs. Bruiser's father he lived on farmland, 12 acres of farmland, out in the country. So we'd go out there all the time. Kids loved it. And my son and her dad were like best friends, 2 peas in a pod. That was his Buppa, and what Buppa said goes. You know how it is when you have that grandfather that's just real influential in your life.
Yeah.
So one day we're out, and it's a nice summer day, and he only had one bathroom in the house, an old farmhouse. And one of the girls happened to be in the bathroom. And there's my son hopping around, and the father-in-law looks at him and goes, what's going on? Cody goes, Papa, I gotta pee. I gotta pee so bad, but Paige is in the bathroom and she's been in there forever. And he looks at him and goes, well, you're in the farm. You're out in the farm. Like, you're out in the country. You can go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can go by that tree. You can go over there. You can go anywhere. Cody's like, I can go anywhere? He's like, yeah. So Cody whips it out and starts going. And Bubba goes, at least turn around first. But he had to be about 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you're a kid, let's face it, the fact that I don't want to go on a rant here, but you're a kid. There's nothing to sexualize there.
Nothing.
Okay? It's a kid. It's a kid who's got to go to the bathroom.
And he was probably playing and didn't want to leave what he was doing, but knew he had to go to the bathroom. And instead of having an accident in his pants, he went behind his mom's car and went.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, how many times have you been a kid where you have to shit, but you're having so much fun, you just hold it until finally you have to go now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's kids.
And I mean, even with some adults, let's face it, you have people who have medical emergencies and they have to pee or they have to go. And sometimes you just have to go. You know, I'm not talking about even, well, let's face it. Sometimes even when people are extremely intoxicated, you don't want to have them hold their water or whatever. Who gives a shit? Urine is sterile.
Yes.
You know, it's not harming anything.
As long as they're doing it a proper way. And it sounds so far just from the headline, it's a proper way. He went behind his mom's car and went.
Yeah.
He's not doing it on anybody. He's not doing it towards anybody. There's no malicious intent behind it. Like you said, it's not sexualized in any way.
Right. Exactly.
It's just a kid that was probably having a good time with his buddies, has to take a piss, but didn't want to run inside.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times we'd play football in the backyard and we'd have a pee break and all run over to the edge of the woods and take a leak.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If it's not you, some wild animal's going to piss in that spot anyway. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't get it. So police arrested a 10-year-old for peeing behind his mom's car. This is a real story. He was only arrested after multiple officers showed up to the scene.
Oh, how embarrassing for that kid.
Public urination is never a good idea, it says in this story, but arresting an innocent child for doing something like that is maybe taking the law a little too seriously. Unfortunately, this is what happened to a 10-year-old in Mississippi, according to Fox Memphis.
There's a cop that needs to check his junk size. He's trying to throw around big dick energy, and he doesn't have a big dick.
That's true. On August 10th, Latoya Eason stopped by an attorney's office in Senatobia, Mississippi, for some legal advice. Her two children, a daughter and her 10-year-old son, Quantavius, I believe his name is, waited in the car while she was in the office. At some point, Quantavius needed to use the restroom, so he got out of the car and went to pee behind it. At the same time, a Senatobia police officer just happened to be passing by and caught the kid peeing behind the car. Okay, so what?
Maybe pull over and say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, this is my mom's car. Oh, okay, where's your mom? Oh, she's there? Awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Make sure you don't do that on somebody else's property, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. But it was no biggie. LaTanya said the officer was just going to give them a warning. I was like, son, why did you do that? He said, Mom, my sisters said they don't have a bathroom there. I was like, you know better. You should have come and asked me if they had a restroom. The officer was like, you handled it like a mom. He can get back in the car, she said to Fox Memphis. It wasn't a big deal until other officers became involved.
Exactly. So now you start getting the who's in charge.
Right. Eason said several other officers showed up, including a lieutenant who said that Quantavius had to be arrested and taken to jail for peeing. Eason admits her son shouldn't have peed, but she says arresting him over it was doing too much.
Yes.
No, him urinating in the parking lot was not right, but at the same time, I handled it like a parent, and for one officer to tell my baby to get back in the car, it was okay, and to have the other pull up and take him to jail, like, no, I'm just speechless right now. Why would you arrest a 10-year-old kid, she said. So I was mistaken in saying it was in his own yard. It was in a parking lot. Quantavius said he was scared and started shaking when the officers took him to jail. Once there, they held him in a cell, charged him with child in need of services, and then released him to his mother.
Oh, gosh.
That's too far.
Yes, it is.
As for the Senatobia Police Department, Fox Memphis reached out to them about the citation, and its police chief released a statement that admitted that arresting the child while his mom was present was a mistake, but offered no apology. Instead, it just reiterated that Quantavius broke the law. Here's the statement. We would like to address a recent incident involving the arrest of 10-year-old of a 10-year-old child. In situations like these, the Youth Court Act guides how officers may deal with juveniles during enforcement encounters. The Youth Court Act allows officers to file a referral against a child as young as 7 years old if they are in need of supervision, which may also be based on delinquent acts, or 10 years old if they commit acts that would be illegal for an adult under identical circumstances, i.e. a delinquent act. The need to transport children from a scene depends on a variety of factors and the availability of reasonable alternatives. In this situation, an officer personally witnessed a 10-year-old child committing an act in public that would have been illegal for an adult under these circumstances. The officer did not observe a parent on the scene during the initial contact. The mother was located at a nearby business shortly thereafter, and she was advised that her child was going to receive a youth court referral for this matter. The officers then transported the 10-year-old to the police station to complete the paperwork, where the child was released to the mother. The child was not handcuffed during the incident. Under these circumstances, it was an error in judgment for us to transport the child to the police station since the mother was present at the time as a reasonable alternative. Mistakes like this are a reminder in this profession as to the continual need for training and refreshers on the various topics that we encounter each day.
And P.S., our lieutenant has a horrible ego.
Yes, that should have been included as well. All of them had a horrible ego when it came to this.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's sad. Very, very sad.
And that's
the gray area of the law. You know what I mean? Yes, the kid broke the law, but that could have been a teaching moment where once the officer found the mom, and he said it too, oh, you're doing your mom thing, and mom yelled at him. You know what I mean? There you go. Let it go.
Yeah. Just literally a pissing contest.
It is. And what's going to happen is this kid's not going to have trust for the police, and that's who he needs to have trust for.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? The way that America is today, there's not a very lot of faith in our police department. They start doing stuff to get that faith back. Not all police are horrible people. There are some, yes. But in a situation like this, let your ego go.
Right.
You don't have to follow it by the letter of the book. This is that gray area thing. He wasn't harming anything. This is where you just get off with a stern lecture, let the kid learn, and move on.
And that's all it would have took. That's all it would have took was just some understanding and talking to the child and saying, listen, I know that you had to go, but this isn't the way to do it.
Yep.
When you're an adult, they arrest you for this sort of thing.
Exactly.
Just keep that in mind. Okay, son? And that's all you have to, that's all you had to say.
Exactly.
And that's it. That's the end of the incident. So that'll do it for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today. Bruiser, huge weekend. Huge weekend.
Yes, August 27th in Salisbury, North Carolina. Kane's coming in. Godfather's coming in. Eric Redbeard, who you and I are real good friends with.
Yep.
It'll be great to see him again. I haven't seen him in a few. Actually, last time I was up by you was the last. Nope, saw him one time after that. But a huge, huge event. I will be there producing all the matches. Arn Anderson will be there. Brock Anderson. Be fun to pick Arn's brain. He hasn't seen me since my surgery, so it'll be good to walk up to him and not have to waddle up to him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great show. It'll be available on Title Match.
Yeah, Title Match Network. So, folks, I know I'm going to tune in this weekend and watch it. You gotta check out the home fed for Bruiser. Title Match Network is how you tune in from afar, and it's really inexpensive to do that as well. So you can.
And this is going to be a huge show. Tickets are already sold out.
Wow.
This venue we're in is huge. Yeah, we got some. They're allowing me to flex my production wings, if you will. So we're going to do a few things that are new that I hope come across really well. So if people do watch on the Title Match, let me know what you think of the backstage vignettes and stuff, because that's all me.
Really?
So, yeah. We have the ability to do it, and I wanted to flex my producing muscles. So this last show with Future Stars, they let me do it with two talent, and they're like, man, that came off great. Let's do it again on the 27th, and we'll put it out there for everyone to see. I'm like, awesome.
Wow. Well,
so I'm excited. Yeah.
I'm excited now. So tune into AML this weekend on Title Match Network. Yep. And check out the latest card. So it's going to be something else. There's links if you forget on how to get there, go to darknessradioshow.com. There's still some links up there that you can get to Title Match Network, and you can get to amlwrestling.com. So
Yep, and all my socials have it on there.
that's right, and all of Bruiser's socials have it as well. Michigan Paracons this weekend as well. I will be there at Michigan Paracon. Come say hi. I may even, if Bruiser's available, I may dial him up on the old iPad.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to say hi to Bruiser, I have to text him first to see what he's up to, so I don't ruin his weekend completely. But if you're out at Michigan Paracon, you come say hi to me. Maybe a lucky person or two will get to say hi to both Cruiser and Bruiser at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah,
I love meeting the listeners. I say it all the time.
there you go. So I know I'm just kind of springing this on him right now, but
no, I'm all for meeting the listeners. You know me.
there you go. So if come on out and say hi this weekend if you're at Michigan Paracon. So there you go. So that'll do it for today. Tomorrow, Supernatural News, and then on Thursday, John Russell will be with us. He's been with us before on the program. He has a brand new psychic medium book out there. We'll be talking about some of the intricacies of the psychic medium realm in his new book on Thursday.
Speaking of psychic mediums, are you going to bump into Daddy Danhausen?
Yeah, he's going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know
Tell him
what?
I say hello, please. I've never met him, but heard a lot about him.
I have the new. Have you seen the button-down Danhausen shirt?
No
from
way.
Pro Wrestling Tees.
You're going to wear that?
I'm going to wear that. I'll show it to you tomorrow. Yeah. I have that. I have the button-down Danhausen shirt. So, yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna try and get a reading from it because I got one from him the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get a reading from Daddy Danhausen while wearing my Danhausen shirt.
Love it.
So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah. You can't mark out any harder than that.
No, you can't. You reached it.
Yeah, I've reached Mark Heaven right there. So.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. So there you go. So that'll do it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks, to True Crime Tuesday. Again, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Tune in tomorrow for Darkness Radio and Supernatural News. For Bigger City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for tuning in to the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.